Coming off of last week's amazing twist and reveal, I was not expecting another really just amazing and cleverly directed twist with the following episode. You know, something like this I would expect maybe a couple of episodes down the road after we kind of calm down from the previous week's just killer episode, literally killer episode. But this week's episode pulls another twist, but instead of it being like, holy hell, someone crazy got chopped up by one of their friends, instead we learn a main character who I have been saying since the beginning seemed to have known more than what she was letting on. She seemed far more keen in this game than we thought at first glance. Gets revealed that she isn't who she says she is. She is not Kurisu. She's actually Senri, the girl who, when Taku was a child, saw being tortured and experimented on. Ito was saying, I'm doing this because you abandoned Senri, and Kurisu last week was saying, no, that's impossible. That's impossible. And that just means even more because it is impossible because Senri isn't doing this. Senri doesn't want this, so someone else is controlling Ito for their own gain. So when we get the flashback and backstory of Kurisu and Senri's friendship, and then how Kurisu gets killed by rubble falling down from this building, her own mother dies as well. It was insane to see that she's praying, she's begging, let me take her place. And what she's meaning is she wants to die for her, but instead her gigolomaniac powers allow her to transform her body into Kurisu, and she ends up taking her place, and all along, the one Taku grew up with was actually Senri and not Kurisu. That's insane to me, because I did not see that coming. I was expecting some crazy twist with her having a power or something, but I wasn't expecting her to be a completely different person. I was not expecting her to be Senri herself. The reason I love Chaos Child is not because it has such crazy twists, but because of how smart it is. It doesn't feel like it's just over-explaining things. It doesn't feel like it's trying to make it seem more smart than it is. It feels like it's cleverly directed. It feels like it's cleverly executed, and I love the fucking pacing of this series. Seriously, this just works so well coming off of last week's episode, and the way this episode ends, if you pay attention, you know exactly who the killer is, or at least one of the killers, as we do get to talk to Ito, because he is still alive and kicking for now, but we get to learn a bit about how he was controlled, as we now know that when people are being controlled by their minds, their eyes bleed, and we've seen Taku's eyes bleed in flashbacks and things like that, but also when they were first in that hotel there, their eyes were bleeding, his as well as the blonde girl, I forget her name, but the one with the ponytails there, or the pigtails. So, the fact that we now know how the minds are being controlled, or at least a symbol so you know when their minds are being controlled, it shows how he was controlled. But also he says that when he was pretty much manipulated into killing Taku's sister, that there was two people. Now, this might not actually be two people. There might only be one person, because it's possible that the way the mind manipulation was working was the person implanted a vision of two people, so it would be harder to track down the real killer. That could be possible, but there could actually be two people. But if you pay attention, you know exactly who the killer is, or at least one of the killers. There's a sound in the video recording of one of the people who got mind controlled and killed themselves. There's a sound that Taku listens to repeatedly, and eventually he recognizes the sound and is trying to call Senri to warn her. If you go back to episode 1, I think even in the episode 1 review, I said, hey, remember those frogs? Like, they were pretty important in Chaos Head. Like, I wonder if that's going to play a factor. It absolutely does, because if I'm not mistaken, the sound that was in that video was actually the sound of the frog keychain that Onoe has. And at the end of the episode, you see someone with their phone and the frog charm hanging down. So it seems like Onoe is the killer. Or is either being manipulated to be the killer, or is the killer, or is one of the killers. Either way, next week's episode is going to be interesting if Senri comes out of this alive or not, because Onoe seems to be on the verge of killing her, and I really like that, because some people might say, oh, the frog reveal is just too much of a big reveal, but a lot of people are going to overlook that, to be honest, because we haven't really focused on her charm really since like episode 1. Like, there obviously would have been times in scenes where she's had her phone and the charm was on it, but in all honesty, I think a lot of people are going to overlook that and say, oh yeah, I mean, it's just a frog charm, I wonder who has that. But that was a major focal point in episode 1, and also that exact same sound, or a sound similar, was actually made with that charm in episode 1, so I think some people might overlook it, and some who do notice it might think it's too obvious, but it's actually the perfect clue in all honesty. But this episode, it was good. I mean, I do think there was probably some production issues. I mean, this got delayed and I couldn't find raws of it available online, so I do think this was a production issue on their side. But there was times like when we were on Senri's flashback where at times it was even black and white imagery, and it was just a lot of kind of still frames slowly moving. So I do think they cut corners around those scenes. Like overall the episode looked good, but I do feel like they had to take shortcuts for that flashback because they didn't have time to fully finish it. I do think that is what happened. Maybe it didn't, maybe it was just done on an artistic basis, but it would have been nice for the flashback if we had full animation and not just kind of cutscenes, just still images, those sort of things. But I just love how Chaos Child just constantly brings new twists and turns. It's constantly making it feel exhilarating. It's never feeling boring or repetitive. It's a shame not a lot of people are watching this. I think probably a lot of people who watched Chaos Head didn't want to try this because they thought Chaos Head was shit, which the anime wasn't that great, so I can understand why people may not want to try it. But it'd be just nice if more people watch this anime because it's so interesting, it's so fucking fascinating, and like easily, like generally the visual presentation is killer. I love the voice acting, the pacing, everything about this has been amazing. But just to see that Senri took the form of Kurisu, the fact that Onoe, which actually explains back in the days when they all went to the place to rescue that girl, and it just seemed like Onoe like was able to find the doors easily. That now explains because she's part of the murder spree here, so that actually explains that. Just there's so many things that get brought up and then revisited later when the reveal happens to make it feel just so damn intelligent and so well executed. I am having a blast, and I cannot wait for episode 9. Hopefully it won't get delayed to like this episode, but you never know. But hey, I'm fine with waiting. As long as I get my episode at some point, I'm happy. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Did you love this episode? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just okay because you're an insane person? Let me know your thoughts. And what did you think of that reveal with Senri not being dead, Senri not being the murderer, Senri being one closest to our main character all along? Let me know your thoughts, and be sure to hit that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.